We're with James Edward Raggi the Fourth.
Yeah.
Yes. What did the other Raggis do?
My father worked at a factory for Pitney Bowes, and then the two before that, I've got no idea what they did.
Well, you've been at least for 10 years in the business of writing role-playing games, which I do know accidentally because you're celebrating your 10th anniversary.
10th anniversary of my first publication, but that was an amateur publication, so I guess since most of this industry is amateur publication, I guess I have been in this for 10 years. What have I done with my life?
Are you happy with what you've done with your life?
Yeah, well, yes, I'm happy because I am a professional. I am making a living publishing role-playing games, and what better life is there than that? But of course, in the moment, I'm stuck with all of the problems, the day-to-day. Why aren't 50 other books out? I feel like I should have done twice as much as I've done. So, like, am I happy? It's like, well, yeah, but I should be so much happier.
Honestly, looking at the output that you have for Lamentations of the Flame Princess, which is essentially just you as the main person and all the people who are freelancing for you, compared to the bigger ones, it's still very, very amazing how much is coming out.
Yeah, but I know how much is delayed and how much hasn't come out and how much people just aren't doing that they've said they do, including me. I mean, I'm slow as well. Are we allowed to swear on this?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm slow as shit, you know, so I should have more sympathy for all the other people that aren't doing the things they need to do when they said they do them, but I'm, of course, not. And then I use that as an excuse. It's like, well, these 50 people are slow, why can't I be? And it just becomes this circle of hell. So yes, we get stuff out, and it's, you know, it's very good. I can't even say that. Oh yes, it's great, it's the absolute best. Nobody should believe me about my own stuff, so believe everyone else that says it's the best.
Okay.
But I know everything that it should be. I know all of the flaws, and so it's like I want to present everything. It's like, oh, look how great this is, how awesome it is. Well, in my mind, it's like, oh, that typo on page 43, and oh my god, that art didn't reproduce perfectly, and so I feel like, fraud. Shyster. I buy this stuff that I know is flawed, and I didn't scrap an entire print run because of a typo, and I should have because it needs to be perfect. And yeah, hi.
Honestly, I totally get that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people in the industry feel like that, or at least I hope so. I'd feel more in common with them. Yeah, let's talk about the things that have come out. For first of all, your... Oh god, please help me out with the title. It's almost as long as your name.
The Random Esoteric Creature Generator for Classic Fantasy Role-Playing Games and Their Modern Simulacra. That was my very first role-playing publication, released back in April of 2008. It was an amateur deal, went down to the copy shop. It was all done in Microsoft Word, I think. And then I went to a local copy shop and had a bunch of photocopied booklets, and it sold, oh, I'm going to get the number wrong, but it's something like 19 copies. But I sent it out to everyone that was doing old school publications at the time, and then Goodman Games said, we'd like to publish this. And I was like, okay. And that was my start in the industry.
And now you've decided to re-release it and just zhuzh it up a little with the hardcover and with new illustrations. Have you changed anything else about what's inside?
Well, we corrected typos. We reverted... Goodman Games cleaned it up for distribution and mass, you know, the mass audience, because I was fresh off of a divorce when I wrote it, and especially the introduction was just like, ah! And so what we've done, for the re-release, we put everything in there that we could. It's the same original text from my original version, with new artwork, new layout. But we also have as much of the previous edition art that we can get the rights to. There was one artist I couldn't get hold of, so we didn't reprint that stuff. But all the original art we could get. And I've got the original introduction, the angry one is in there, plus the one Goodman Games had rewritten for me, plus the one that I had done for Goodman Games because I didn't like theirs, plus a new one. So this is also the Random Esoteric Introduction Generator. But I just thought it needs to be very complete, and here's everything, and, you know, brand new full color artwork, hardcover slipcase. It's just a narcissistic celebration of me. But here at RPC was the grand debut of the thing, and just the first day we sold all but one that we brought, so I figure we're going to sell the last one. So that's a good sign. People like me.
Okay, you've got one last one left, and it's early in the day. I've got a chance. Okay, let's also talk about a few other new things. And I laughed out loud when I saw Fish Fuckers, turned it around, and the subtitle basically is "How deep is your love?" And finally, a book that answers the question: where does the Innsmouth look actually come from? How does it work?
Yes. Okay. Now, Fish Fuckers. This is where the problem of all those delayed releases comes in, because it seems that the things that do get done is the really weird stuff. You know, Fish Fuckers, Vaginas Are Magic, Eldritch Cock was at the warehouse on time for Free RPG Day next month. And so that's the stuff people see, especially lately. It's like, da. And so people look at Lamentations, it's like, oh, that's that. And I'm like, well, no, it's not everything. It's some of it, yes. But that's not everything, but that's the stuff that's getting done. And it's like, okay, there's something about us people that like doing that stuff that makes us very motivated to actually complete a project. And I don't know, and I feel like we should embrace it, because look, this is weird fantasy. This is what we're advertising. Find me something weirder than Fish Fuckers that's out in the world being sold commercially. And on the other hand, it's like, I don't want to be known for just that. But what can you do? But yes, I do. But for the actual thing, I stand behind Fish Fuckers 100%. I commissioned just the basic idea. I gave it to Kelvin Green. Let's do an April 1st release next year. It'll be a limited edition thing. And we'll sell it just on the web store just on April 1st next year. And then get rid of the extra copies at conventions. He was like, yes, let's do it. And you know, and of course, it comes out, I want to say, much worse than I anticipated, because I always think someone else isn't going to go as far as I would. And then I see some of the pictures, and I get that, oh my, can I actually release this? But that's the feeling I'm going for, because I look at what the big companies do, and I look at their artwork, and I look at their content, and I think this is very safe. They want everybody to feel safe and comfortable. And so if I'm uncomfortable with something, I'm thinking, that's the feeling, you know? This is supposed to be weird, and we're doing horror. We shouldn't look at it and feel comfortable. So if I'm feeling uneasy, it's like, that's the feeling. Yes, go to press.
Honestly, I may not have felt very, very safe looking at Fish Fuckers, but I was highly amused.
Yeah. Well, this is the game hobby. It's supposed to be fun. So you can do both, because in my home game, my players do the most awful things. It's just the worst, but everybody is laughing at the table. Like, they're in one dungeon now, and one of the player characters has died, and so everyone's thinking, great, we can use them for parts. And so now they've got these hacked up pieces of ex-player character in a sack in case they need to use them in the dungeon. And the actual people at the table are laughing their asses off, but what's happening in the game is just the worst, most psychotic. And that's right. That's good. The real people are having fun. The fake people are just complete miserable, amoral people. Yes! That's right. Yes. Proper.
It honestly sounds like a group I'd like to play with. The other new thing you have out is Frostbitten and Mutilated. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, so tell me a little bit about it.
Okay, that's a Zach Smith project. The concept, when I pitched it to him, because most of the Zach stuff these days, is I just say, how about you do this? And then he says, for a modest advance. And I'm like, fine, here's the money. It was Viking Amazons of the Metal North. And the concept was based on an old Savage Sword of Conan cover for some Hyperborean zombie story, but it was Conan with a couple of people behind him surrounded by zombies. And I thought, let's just do that, except it's all like warrior women that are surrounded. But then he took it in a different direction. It's a lot of real Norwegian black metal aesthetic, a black and white book, and just lots of musical references there. And so, like, Viking Amazons of the Metal North sounded a little too pulp for what the project ended up being. And so I said, okay, can we get a title that's not blank of the blank? And he's like, Frostbitten and Mutilated. I was like, oh, that'll be popular in stores. Okay. Well, it's difficult because as a publisher and as someone that pays the rent doing this, I end up worrying about things like that. Oh, is this going to sell? Oh, is this going to get me kicked out of this sales venue? Is someone going to complain when I have it at a convention? They're going to go, eh. But on the other hand, I have to work through that fear. I have to make sure that the actual creation stays untouched by the commercial concerns, or else what the hell am I doing? Because, again, the big companies have the broad audience fantasy already done. I'm not going to do Dungeons and Dragons proper better than Wizards of the Coast, and even if I could, with all of their marketing and media, what am I going to do? So it's like, okay, this is going to be my niche where I'm releasing books called Frostbitten and Mutilated and going for black metal imagery, then do it. Then just go all the way. So, yeah.
Yeah, honestly, looking at what's been out for Lamentations of the Flame Princess, I get the impression that they are also kind of the playing ground for a lot of authors for things they cannot do for the big companies, because you basically just let them go where they want to go.
Yeah, and I've been told this by people who have worked for other companies, and I'm a little scared to say this because there's only so many of my authors that have worked for the bigger companies. It's like I'm outing them, but I'm told they give me an idea, and I'm like, you know, I'll make suggestions like, well, what if you frame it this way instead of that? But I always try to have their core concepts stay intact. And they tell me how cool it is because they've turned things into bigger companies, and they get the edit back, and it's been completely changed without their say-so, without their knowledge. And I think that's crazy. I mean, everything that I change is in conversation with the people who made the stuff. I don't do executive decisions, up yours, sorry, didn't tell you. And so I appreciate that people tell me, yeah, we get to do this with you, the stuff I really want. And it's like, well, I get to feel good about myself for a little bit. It's like, okay, I was just trying to make a good thing. And okay, you feel good too. Hi.
And sell amazing books. Thank you very much for staying a unsafe haven for people who like weird things.
That's all I can't do anything else.